Yo, what is good? What is good? Welcome to episode 43, week 16. Fancy and Matt, how are we feeling, boys?
What's going on?
Feeling good. Feeling good.
Fancy, sharp looking hats. What's the t-shirt of the day? What do we got?
It's John Gruden, quarterback
John
camp.
Gruden, quarterback. Did you go?
You only get this if you went and did good.
Did good. What year did you do that?
Yep.
If you got him feeling nicey, you get that shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Fancy's always feeling nicey. Dude, we're almost done. I hate saying that, but we really are in terms of the regular season. And I wish we could just hit like the reset button and then just like do it over again because that'd be cool.
We're starting to hit our stride. So yeah, I mean, we want
Yeah.
to keep this thing going.
We're gonna get into that. I'll repeat it again later. But last week we had 12 consensus picks. We went 11-1. A little teaser. We have 13 consensus this week, and 2 people on this show have the same exact 16 picks. So this might be the week to lock in a 16 legger. But I do have my fun little stats, if you will, or fun facts and whatever we want to call it. Matt, starting with you. Jared Goff becomes the first player in NFL history to throw for 400 plus yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions and lose. So if the little sting of losing last week didn't, sting enough,
Right.
there's that for you, buddy.
And one of them was to a big boy touchdown to Dan Skipper.
Yeah, Dan Skipper. Yeah. Actually, what's really funny about that, not to get this too far off track, was the meme of Dan Skipper lining up on the outside to the DB. You see him you ever see that?
Nope.
Did you see a picture of him? They took the screenshot of that on Thursday Night Football. Obviously, first week of playoffs for a lot of you fantasy football owners. And they said Cooper Kupp in my lineup on playoffs and when playoffs start. And then someone retweeted it saying, honestly, after the Lions game, this is kind of disrespectful because Dan Skipper actually caught a touchdown pass and Cooper Kupp didn't. So I was like, damn.
Right?
And as a Cooper Kupp owner, that stung a little bit more.
Yep.
But same thing with the Lions. Scoregami. With that game, we had a Scoregami 42. That is the 1,090th unique final score in NFL history.
Wow.
Staying with that game, Josh Allen, since being engaged, 1,003 yards, 14 touchdowns, and no turnovers in 3 games.
Very good.
The man is he's playing unbelievable.
Shout out Haley.
Shout out to Haley. I don't want to spend too much time on the Eagles, but the Eagles defense, this is from JJ Watts, just isn't getting enough credit. First in the NFL in yards per game, second in the NFL in points per game. And no one's talking about that. There's a stat in the second half of that Eagles-Steelers game. You guys want to guess how many drives there were in the second half? Total?
I think there's like 2 or 3.
Matt?
4.
5 drives. First drive of the half, 13 plays by the Eagles for 7 minutes and a field goal. Steelers, 4 plays, fumble. Eagles, 13 plays, touchdown. Steelers, 7 plays and a punt. Eagles to end the game, 21 plays.
Yeah.
10 minutes and 30 seconds.
We've talked about that. We always talked about how literally Eagles get the ball. They can do that. They can bleed out the clock. But Did you say 10 minutes?
10 and a half minutes, and it did not end up in a turnover or a score.
That's insane.
21 plays.
Yeah.
Most drives are about 10 to 15, and you're in the end zone.
Yeah.
Or kicking, So kind of ridiculous that the Eagles had 57 plays in the second half, and the Steelers had 11.
Yeah.
And they had 2 drives.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we kind of get up, and then we can use that run game and just keep wearing you down. Because a 3rd and 2 is basically a 2nd and 2 because they're going to tush push to the 4th and 1, and then they're going to tush push again to get in, and it just wastes. That's a full minute right there. It's like, so, it kind of just a really crazy, stats. This week was kind of fun because I kind of found stats, pretty much for every one of our teams. So it's basically just us and then the Falcons. So, sticking with, us, I will go back to you, Matt. what are the odds that Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions in week 10 and won, but then threw 5 touchdowns with no interceptions and lost? Someone commented and said, "So you're telling me pretty soon he'll throw 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in the game, and the game will end up in a tie?" It's like that is kind of crazy in the same season that has happened. 5
Yeah.
interceptions and a win, 5 touchdowns and a loss. But fancy, finally getting to you, which I don't know the time frame of this. I meant to look it up and I totally forgot. Um, Jordan Love loves himself some Toyotathon. I don't know if you knew that, but during the Toyotathon, these are Jordan Love's career stats: 3,283 yards, 26 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
It's not too bad.
Jordan Love not in the Toyotathon era or that time zone, 33,829 yards, 29 touchdowns, 25 interceptions.
Okay, so real similar in most columns. Just one.
Just that one. It's just they just pushed an extra number at the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
2 interceptions.
All right, so Toyotathon is November 15th through January 6th.
Okay, so you got about 2 more games.
Yeah. Which is the games we need.
There you go. So look,
So-
just helping you out there, pal, of giving you some more confidence going into this. But probably the talk of the week, right? Talk of the week, the quarterback changes. Obviously, the Browns going away from Winston to DTR. And then the big one, Kirk Cousins getting benched after a win that he didn't play great in, but still after a win, he gets benched. And obviously, Michael Penix is coming in to make his rookie debut this week against the Giants. Not really a fun stat, but just something to read here as a report. Kirk Cousins has a no trade clause in his contract, similar to what Derek Carr did to the Raiders a couple years ago, when he used his clause to say, "You're basically not trading me. You can cut me and pay me what you owe me, and I'll choose to be a free agent and choose my team on my own." The Falcons will have to pay Kirk Cousins $90 million for 14 starts. Trading him will be impossible because he will not cooperate.
Yep.
And so that means Cousins could literally go sign with any team that he wants for minimum, just like Russell Wilson did with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So kind of crazy to think about because that is a lot of money. We've seen it now with Russell in Denver. We've seen it with Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. We saw it with Daniel Jones in New York, where they signed these quarterbacks for a max extension, all fully guaranteed. And then within a year or two, they do not have them as a quarterback anymore.
I mean, there's a chance. I mean, not likely, but there's a chance that Penix falls flat on his face. These last couple games, and then maybe
they still have a chance at playoffs, right? I mean, they're 7-7, I think.
Yeah.
So
if that happens, then the quarterback situation is going to be weird. But you're right. If he wins a couple of these games, how many games are left? 3.
3.
So if he wins those 3, they go 10-7 and make the playoffs. Then I think you're saying bye to Kirk. But
yeah.
Luckily for the Falcons, the 2 games that would be the hardest for them to win in this situation, they already won barely against the Bucks.
Yeah.
It's like as far as playoff contention.
Yeah,
Like,
because the Giants this week, it's like they should win. It's like that's a game that you should mark down on your calendar as a win, right? So
yeah,
it's like I don't know what they have left after that, but I'm sure they play somebody in that NFC South, and it's probably a game against the Panthers in there or something like that.
yeah.
So it's like they probably should be okay.
So Commanders, and then Panthers.
Yeah. So out of those 3, you should win 2. So
Yep.
I mean, they might finish the year 9-8. So what are you gonna do? Obviously not at all what we expected out of the Atlanta Falcons, especially when we saw Kirk Cousins put up a 500+ yard game and break Matt Ryan's record while Matt Ryan was in the stadium.
Yeah, Matt Ryan night.
You do.
Yeah.
But like I said, had a great last week for the entire pod. Not only in our consensus picks. Last week we all went 13-3. So in terms of the competition we have going on, obviously with the records, they stayed pretty much the same. Me and Matt are still tied. Fancy is still 6 games out. Fancy's 144-80. I'm 150-74, and so is Matt's. All of us going 13-3 though, with a consensus pick of 11-1, which puts us at 113-43, which is 72.4% ratio with our consensus picks. That's kind of crazy. I mean, that literally means if we make 8 picks, you can take you can take all 8 picks and 6 of them are going to win. Like every week. It's guaranteed. That's pretty impressive to do. So pat yourself on the back, boys. But starting off, this is going to be a tricky week, which I just got informed of this. Obviously, I am way out of the loop. Being a house owner sucks, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. But this week we have Thursday night, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday night. So obviously we just figured it out. We looked into it and everything else. They're having the Saturday games because next week is Christmas and they have Christmas games. So they're making sure that these teams, these four teams have enough time to have a fair playing ground of rest days in between games, not just playing Sunday and playing Wednesday.
Yeah, so they're just doing a swap.
Yep.
For the Christmas Day games. It's those same Texans, Chiefs, Steelers, and Ravens just swapping it out.
Yep,
So.
just a game early. So more football for us, right? Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, and then we come back and have football Wednesday, Thursday next week too. Next week is gonna be a little hairy with the podcast stuff, so just keep looking at our socials. We might just post all this on TikTok. We might just upload a quick video talking about this stuff. But we'll definitely get the graphics out there for you guys for sure. But here we go. Starting out Thursday night football. Broncos at the Chargers. Me and Matt went with the Chargers. Fancy, you went with the Broncos. Huge divisional game here between the two. Yeah. Should be a really, really fun game to watch rather than watching the 49ers and the Rams literally just have a field goal fest on Thursday Night Football when all of our money is on the line on fantasy football playoffs, especially when you have Cooper Kupp and Juwan Jennings and Isaac Rendo do nothing. So,
yeah.
But I still end up winning, so that was big. But, Matt, tell me why your favorite team in the AFC is going to win this Thursday Night Football matchup. Probably one of the most important games of the season for the Chargers.
I like the Chargers.
Chargers are fun. Football is good.
Football game.
Lightning.
No, I honestly, I think
fast.
I'm surprised at the 42 point on this one. To me, this was going to be a defensive battle. So I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be more towards that 38 to 40 range, but to me, defensive battle, and it's just who makes less mistakes. Bo Nix, you've seen a little bit of some cracks out of him. Not quite, he went through a good 4 or 5 game stretch where he was looking lights out. To me, I think the Chargers can outlast the defense of the Broncos here, so that's why I sided with them.
Yeah, I almost went with the Broncos on this one. Justin Herbert is questionable. So that's going to play obviously a huge part in all of this. But in terms of these types of games, this is probably one of the games that's just a coin flip. I mean, it really is. It's kind of just, and we picked a lot of Broncos and a lot of Chargers this season, which honestly probably just shocked a lot of people. I don't think there's anyone in the football world that thought the Broncos would be 9-5 at this point. So they could very well prove us wrong here, Matt. But I went with the Chargers. I'd like to see them sneak into playoffs. We might see 3 teams sneak into playoffs out of the AFC West there, depending on how it all shakes out. But if they're gonna take a swing at getting in the playoffs, this is a must win for them. So that's kind of where it decided for me.
Yep.
I mean, when it comes to Thursday Night Football, I feel like we always get some of the most surprising or just absolute worst expressions of football that you could possibly imagine. And like you said, it's a division rivalry. This is a must-win for both teams if there's a chance at all. Harbaugh, I mean, proven his point that being back in the NFL, coming from college, he didn't soften up. He knows what he's doing. I mean, people love Herbert. They really got smoked against the Buccaneers there. Their defense that everybody wants to talk about kind of disappeared against a team that doesn't have a defense, and they couldn't really put up points. So I look at the Broncos, with a little bit of a defense, and I really like Bo Nix and Sean Payton and how they've really come around. And like we talked about last week, when you're a single digit win team looking to go to that double digit column, that soon as you get there, you're ready to move on, and it's like this is a must win for the Broncos. And I think that we see crazy stuff against Thursday Night Football, so I went against the grain, against the numbers, and I went with the Broncos.
Yeah, that is a good point, especially because the Broncos really have not seen double digits probably since the Peyton Manning days. I mean, You probably have to stat check me on that, but it's
It's
been
been
a
a
little while for
while.
them, and that is a big. I mean, that's a big swing for sure.
I think it's an 8-year or 8-season playoff drought. I think currently. So I mean, we're knocking on the door. So the motivation is there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we go to Saturday, which will be such a fun game to have. This is probably one of the game of the weeks. Both of these games on Saturday. We have the Texans at the Chiefs. Me and Matt on the side together, and Fancy on the other side. So I'm sure you, at this point, if you heard me earlier, you probably can figure out who has the same exact pick. So you will not see me and Matt's records change. We will be tied after this week, no matter what.
But
That was not
Fancy got a
intentional,
chance.
obviously, but I did think I'd be the only team that going against the grain on the Chiefs. Obviously, I paired up with them every single week, and I gave you guys shit about it about 2 weeks ago. But this is one of those matchups where I just, Mahomes banged up. Matt, I know you were mentioning before that you maybe thought he was going to be, maybe missing this game, but he's been a full participant, back-to-back days in practice, Monday, Tuesday. But I don't know. For me, I just feel like the Texans, this is a game for them where this is kind of that playoff measure for them of like how serious are we? You know what I mean? Like, because if they want to go anywhere, this is going to be a team they have to beat in playoffs, no matter what, right? So for them, I think this is going to be a big, momentum swing in their season. I mean, Fancy, you nailed it before. Getting to that double digit in the win column does have its momentum. As we see a lot of teams on this page at 9-5. Some teams have obviously been there, like the Ravens and the Steelers, but I think it is a big momentum change for the Texans if they can get to that 10-5, but also win against a very competitive, back-to-back Super Bowl champs. So I'm hoping that CJ Stroud and Joe Mixon and Nico Collins and all the boys there can get it done. Best team in Texas. Yeah, I mean that's it's going to come down to the black magic that the Chiefs got, Matt, and you know that. But
Yep.
Eventually the Chiefs can't keep winning, and we keep saying that every week. But Mahomes is banged up, so you never know. We might see a CJ Stroud Carson Wentz matchup. So
Yeah. So I mean, when I saw, obviously we make our picks ahead of time. When I saw him at practice, although he was a participant, he's still kind of stretching it out. With a high ankle sprain, you never know, right?
Especially at 13-1, there's no need to.
He could tweak it again in practice, right? And be out. But at the same time, like, why risk it if you are 13-1 at this point? So to me, that's why I really thought I was really leaning on them, giving them some rest. And then the Texans would be able to run away with this, but I guess it's still a wait and see type of thing. But
And it's still gonna be a thing where he goes in first quarter, get stepped on, or you goes one wrong way, or whatever it is, and it's like, hey, let's just sit you out for this week, and call it that. So
yep.
I definitely, when it comes to Kansas City, I'm not so much worried about them as I am the Texans. We have seen them struggle in wins, and they need that 10th win bad, but they're on the road, they're outdoors, it's cold. They I don't know, I almost feel, as much as people would pick the Texans right now versus a banged up Mahomes, and the wins Casey managed to win are the losses that the Texans managed to lose. It's like there's no way. I mean, they still are going to lose in a Texas professional football team fashion, as we've seen happen in Dallas. That's what I'm afraid of. And Casey at home, outdoors, they're going to have everything in their favor, and not a big scoring game. I don't think it's going to be. It's going to be a matter of the
that
defense.
over-under is very low for those two. Good
And I would still
offenses.
probably bet the under on that if I was going to put money, because I just see it being lower. I see it being Butker. I think the KC defense is more than enough for Stroud, and I think Diggs is out, right?
Yeah, he's been out for the
Yeah,
season.
yeah, he's out. He's out for the season, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, and he didn't target Tank Dell very well. I don't know. I mean, you barely the win against the Dolphins is not a win to go see. Look at me.
Yeah.
So.
No, for sure. That's Jesus Stroud's second-year slump for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Ravens, Steelers. All of us went to Ravens. I did think this might be one game where we, maybe on the other side, but I really do think, and it's not me being an Eagles fan by any means. I think the Eagles really did just kind of expose that the Steelers, like, yeah, they have a good defense, but it's like their offense is just I mean, it just they had their moments. Don't get me wrong. I mean, every
Yeah.
team has. Don't forget Caleb Williams was #1 quarterback 2 weeks in a row with Jags against the Jags and the Panthers. It's like when you play certain teams, it's like you
you're gonna
might
look
put up
good.
some numbers, but I think we really. I mean, I think Najee and Jalen Warren were both stopped to under like 15 yards on the ground. It's like, and then to me, Russell Wilson and George Pickens don't scare me. It's like it's
Right, and I mean he was banged up, so obviously I'm already scared of the
Yeah.
Eagles secondary. But then when you don't have that moonball opportunity with George Pickens,
that offense has nothing. I mean,
you're now one dimensional, and Eagles can definitely stop the run. So that's why I think they definitely put it to him. So to me, Ravens have an opportunity, especially if Pickens is still banged up. I think I side with the Ravens here also because Henry had a kind of a down game because the passing game was so explosive for the Ravens. He only needs 93 yards to hit that last incentive. He really structured his contracts in free agency really well. His bonuses or incentives are 500,000 a piece, and he just needs to hit this last one, 93 yards, to hit another 500,000. So I really think out of these last games, they're going to feed Henry eventually. So
Yeah. I think this is going to be an ugly one. I really do. I think this is going to be one where the Steelers fall to 10-5, and it's like the last couple of losses for
can
them
they
are
hang
like,
out?
yeah,
You know,
it's like they're starting to fall apart, and we're starting to see them slowly just melt away. Like,
If we see the Steelers win this game, it's not so much a shout out to the Steelers, but it's a big statement about the Ravens
yeah,
and
absolutely.
what is going on.
Yeah, it's almost like a huge this game in general for both teams. It's a huge statement game of like, okay, the Ravens are starting to get some momentum again, or it's like, man, the Ravens like are going to be a fraud team, and one of these teams are going to come out
Yeah.
of that matchup being a fraud. Like one of them
Absolutely.
are, and so it's going to be interesting. It's crazy to say that to a 10-4, 9-5 team, but it is the truth.
Yeah.
And then we have the Bengals Browns. Bengals at home, 6-8, still holding on to a playoff chance. Some miracles may happen. I don't know. But at home, all three of us took them. The Browns are starting DTR, so they did bench Winston. So
and then with Nick Chubb out,
yeah,
for the
Nick
rest of
Chubb
the
out,
season
no
too,
Jameis Winston. They don't have an
I think they're
explosive
done.
offense
Yeah,
at all anymore. Yeah, I think
I
this
think
is
they're
one
done.
that the Bengals will gladly just take and sneak into 7-8 and maybe go 9-8 and then we can talk about some Joe Burrow MVP number. Maybe it's like
There's a
I don't
chance.
know. But then we have the Falcons against the Giants. We all took the Falcons. Nothing really to see here in terms of it is the Giants. It's like they will probably be #1 pick in the draft. That's probably their hopes as well. But we will see Michael Penix, which will be fun. That -8.5 is very interesting though. With a rookie quarterback starting for the Falcons, I think you're going to see a lot of Bijan Robinson in this game though. For you fantasy football owners out there, I think it's a good week for him. Even though the Giants did obviously stop Derrick Henry last week, I think that, like was Matt said though, it was to a fault that Lamar Jackson was having another MVP game for himself. But I think that's really much all we're going to see in that game. And then we have your Lions, though, Matt, playing in Chicago. All three of us took, your Lions as we have almost pretty much every week. Even though, not to point out, 11-1, that one last week was because of you guys. But I will say this: I did see with the Detroit Lions. I don't know if you saw the Miami Dolphins announce that the minute they are pretty much announced that they will not be making playoffs, like as soon as they get eliminated, they will release Calais Campbell to allow him to go to a competitive team. And the first one up is Detroit Lions.
Gotta be. Yep.
So that would fit right up into your guys's mojo, if you will, because
Yeah.
that's a defensive player that can make a huge impact on like you said in pre-production, just a banged up team right now. So
many injuries, and then obviously last week we saw Montgomery go down, which is so devastating. So this week, obviously, I think you ended up picking him up in our DK.
Yep.
He's gonna get the workload, and I mean the problem is he can do it. I think he does have success with the 2-back system, gives him the opportunity to have those explosive plays. So I hope the the 1-back system for him doesn't kind of contain him, a little bit more on those drives. But I think he's going to have success. This isn't a Thanksgiving Day matchup like it was last time we played the Bears, where the Lions always have those bad games where we almost lost it to the Bears. I think the Bears are just so depleted. I was waiting for them. Past 3 weeks? I was saying, okay, this is their bounce back game. Okay, this is their bounce back game, and it hasn't been coming. So I think even though we are banged up, I think we still win this game.
Yeah, the Bears are 0-8 since that picture of their corner.
Flaunt.
Against the Commanders, flaunt. Yeah, they're 0-8
Yep.
since that picture was taken. So
That's worse than a penalty.
Yeah, just a yeah. Or him literally like tipping the ball to the guy and then just tanking the whole season. I mean, you can pick your poison. But the Colts Titans, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. Maybe 3 weeks ago. All three of us got on here and we talked about, it might have been Marcus, but we talked about do not touch the Titans-Jags game. This is another game.
Yep.
Yes, we are all taking the Colts, but just stay away from it if you can. I mean, if you don't, 1-800-gambling.
I don't.
There's no reason to touch it.
I don't like the Colts.
Yeah,
but I don't like the Titans, and it almost is one of those trap games to me. I was telling you about it earlier. They're finally steering away from Will Levis and going with Mason Rudolph. For some reason, he does have those explosive plays. He likes to still try to chuck the ball. We all liked Ridley, this back half of the season. So he does still have those opportunities to make crazy things happen. So to me, don't like this game at all, but going with the Colts.
Yeah. Then we have the Rams Jets. How about the Rams? 8-6. Obviously it's a consensus pick here. Let's just say they win this game, 9-6. I'm pretty sure that's lead of NFC West. Could be wrong. I think it is though. But I mean, fancy. You're talking about 49ers. Having their down season. They're 6-8. At the Cardinals, I think are 7-7. Seahawks just lost to you guys in Green Bay or at Seattle, but to Green Bay. But I mean, this won't be an easy win for them by any means, though. I mean, Rams, Jets. The Jets don't seem to be really giving up. They were very close last week in that game, and the week before, they snuck away with that win against the Colts, I believe it was. And so it's like the Jets aren't giving up, even though they are eliminated. So this is one of those games where the Rams can't go into and just like think they have it in the bag, and that's why the odds we see, minus 175, that's not a lock. That's not an absolute,
Yeah.
And I forgot to I was looking at some of the other incentives, like I told you about Henry. I wonder if Adams has some kind of incentive in that contract.
Gosh, what a week he had last week.
Because he just
insane numbers.
They went off last week, right? So to me, his buddy is going to just keep feeding him the ball. So when you get a couple touchdowns, things can happen. So that is a scary part of that game.
Yeah, and it was a scary, thing for fantasy football when you click on the app and that's you're playing against him. Shout out to Marcus, who obviously you guys know on the pod. He had Jared Goff, St. Brown, and Mike Evans last week. Poor Papa who played him got absolutely obliterated.
Marcus backs into the playoffs and then just absolutely.
He's 6 seed, knocks me down to 7 seed, so he barely snuck in, and then literally just like, I think that was the highest scoring week we've ever seen in the league. Truthfully, I think it is. And poor Papa. He would have beaten everyone else that played that week. Every single person that played in playoffs, he would have beat everyone but Funzy. Or Marcus. But so absolutely wild. Then we have 4 more consensus picks here. Probably the only the left side here is obviously the more, somewhat 50-50 games. But so we'll just get rid of the right side here. Obviously Bills at Patriots should be a walk-through game for them.
Minus 14,
I am playing Josh Allen this week. Kind of scared. He might throw like 8 touchdowns and catch 4 of them and then rush in 6 of them. But I'm hoping for a really like explosive start by the Bills, and then kind of we're 12-3. Let's get our MVP quarterback out of there, please.
Yeah.
type of situation. Maybe see a little bit middle Mitch Trubisky action. Shout out to the Bears fans that listen to this. And then we have the Cardinals, the Panthers, which teasing our parlay a little bit, fancy. With the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, fancy.
He's him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Where
he'll
do
get it done.
where do you learn to be him?
He learned to be him and learned how to get a Heisman Trophy right behind the other him, who is Baker at the University of Oklahoma.
You know what's funny? I was just thinking about you, Fancy. One of my son's new favorite songs is the Luke Combs song, something about Oklahoma. And he just yells it out at that. He yells out Oklahoma, Oklahoma.
Maybe he'll be a Heisman Trophy winner.
Right. So
Fancy could probably get him in. Yeah. Fancy could probably get him in Oklahoma.
I get him in Oklahoma.
All
I'll
right.
call Bob. I'll call Bob.
I'll call Bob up and then get him drafted by Green Bay. Boom. There you go, Matt. Oh, that would actually suck for you if your son was the quarterback of the Green Bay.
Imagine.
Oh, dude. That would be awful. I'm not gonna lie. You'd be happy, but no, we all took the Cardinals in that one. I honestly, maybe a hot take. I know the Panthers kind of had that little patch of like they played good football against the Chiefs. They played good football against the Eagles. Like I still think it's kind of a little bit disrespectful to the Cardinals. I think, I don't know. I just feel like minus 205, minus 4 on the spread. It's like, I think this could be a double-digit game. I think it really could. I think it could be 28-10. You know what I mean? And I think it could be one of those where it runs off. We were disappointed in Kyler Murray last week, but I think this is the week that me and Fancy both expected last week.
So, right. I mean, James Conner can have another great game, but you're right. But get the passing game involved too. Get Marvin Harrison.
Oh, that was what was said too. He tweeted out saying Trey McBride will get a touchdown soon.
He's got to. You got to get him a touchdown.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
So maybe a Trey McBride anytime touchdown on they're gonna boost it up now though that he said that. That's what's stupid is he hasn't caught one all year long, but it's still gonna be like it's gonna be like plus 100, It's like he hasn't got a touchdown all year, and it's gonna be, not great odds. But the last game around the noon slate, Eagles at Commanders. We talked about it in pre-production, trying to make our parlay. I didn't want to touch this game in terms of our money line, but it's just one of those. I do think we do win. I think we should win. I'm really hoping that we do. Obviously because with you guys losing and being a little bit banged up, and then the Vikings 12-2 as well. I really would like the Eagles to see them get the number 1 seed. That way we do get a rest because we did have the week 5 bye just like you guys did, Matt. So I think that would be a nice little reset for the team. Obviously you guys need it as well. But this, like I told you guys pre-production, I mean this is the game in Washington that we typically do lose every year. Like even when we were like 8-0 that one year or 9-0 or whatever it was, it's like we lost. The one game we lost was in Washington when Washington was like 1-7. So it's like it's just I don't know what it is. It's the divisional rivalry 50-50 type thing. And Washington this year 9-5. I mean, they absolutely deserve 9-5 too. So Jane Daniels has played great. I'm just hoping that the Eagles defense can help us if the offense starts to struggle a little bit and to kind of bail us out. So that's all I got for that game.
Yeah,
you guys got anything or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping Eagles play well because what's taken me to the semifinals, in fantasy is my.
Oh, you kind of need that.
Yeah, my stack of Jalen.
Hey, I just want to say, Jalen Hurts
Brown.
and the AJ Brown stack did you well this year. I mean,
I absolutely, yeah, that and then obviously Gibbs. That's what carried me to the semis. So, I kind of talk shit to light a fire under him to throw to AJ Brown last week, and he did. And he kind of threw it in our face, saying I can win it by throwing the ball too.
Yeah, the post game too. Did you see him? He sat down. He goes, "So is that what you guys wanted to see?"
Yeah, that was so funny. So I mean, but honestly, they can win it both sides of the ball. So I just the only downside to this game, like you said, is when you have a rivalry at their place.
Especially when they're 9-5, like they are actually playing for something now. They're not 2 and they're not 2-12. It's like they are here to play. Like
trust the quarterbacks from Oklahoma.
I like that.
Yeah, but he
Trust
went
him.
to Alabama, didn't he?
He got kicked out of Alabama for a quarterback who ain't in the playoffs. How about that? Who
Boom.
ain't been to a Super Bowl? How about that?
Boom. There you
Hmm.
go. See, Fancy, I like that.
There you go.
I will say this, not to because Marcus isn't here, to give me shit about Jalen Hurts and like finally he had a good passing game, whatever it is. It's like he did have a great passing game against one of the toughest defenses in the league, top 5 defense in the league. But I do think, like you said, I think the Eagles can get it done in so many ways. Like if it's not Jalen Hurts throwing to AJ Brown for 100+ yards and Smitty for 100+ yards and whoever, it's Barkley for 100+, or their defense just. I mean, we talked about that. I literally had that stat with you guys at the second half. It's like, how do you beat a team when you're up double digits or when you're losing double digits and then you get 3 or 2 drives in an entire half? You get 1 drive per quarter.
When your defense is what is the argument for you being where you are? You should have been able to stop them multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, a 21 play drive for 10 and a half minutes without
That's
a
not-
score is
that's not
ridiculous.
defense.
I've
That's
never
not
seen that.
defense.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. So I think the Eagles and Bills obviously I would take Josh Allen in a heartbeat over Hurts. I think Josh Allen is. I mean, Fancy, you mentioned me. I think he is MVP if things keep going the way that it goes, and hopefully it keeps going well for him. But the Eagles do have a 10 times better defense than the Bills, so I think it's gonna be a fun rest of the season, I think. But the Vikings at Seattle, big game, obviously for the Vikings, but also for me and you, Matt, in terms of and you, Fancy. I mean, if the Vikings lose this one and the Packers lose or win this week as they should, you guys keep sneaking up. Obviously, you hope the Lions win this week, Matt. Which helps me and you get closer to that number 1 seed because only one person can get that bye, and we all want it, right?
I know. I was gonna say I was thinking conference, just trying to win the North, but you're right. I mean, it's not only the North that's in the balance, right? It's that bye, which is so important. So
yeah, I think you guys have to play them one more time this year.
we finished the season.
And that very well could be the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Like not only for the NFC North title, but for
Absolutely.
That's gonna be crazy. Could that be the first time ever that the last week is determining the title game and the number 1 seed game? Can you recall a time like that? I feel like that'd be.
I mean, like
I
said, typically I almost thought, I swear it was always Green Bay in the Lions for that last game to decide who goes in the playoffs.
I know
right?
it was last year because that's how you guys got in, right, Fancy?
Yes.
You guys had to win.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
not to get too caught up on that, but obviously you fetch that while we keep going. But that would be almost like that would have to be a Sunday Night Football game. Like if they throw that game in at noon, I'm gonna be pissed. Like if it's Vikings Lions for the number 1 seed, and
right now it's a flex game. It's a to be determined flex game.
Yeah,
I think
they're gonna
all
wait.
week 18 is still flex.
Okay.
I think so. Mine is.
I will say probably the shittiest matchup of the week is right here.
Yeah.
Fancy, I'll let you go.
Let me talk about this.
Are you talking about the Green Bay New Orleans one?
Yes.
Let me
No, I'm talking about this 3-11 and 2-12 matchup, where the 2-12 matchup is favored at the moment.
Yeah, favored a 1-point favorite, probably the lowest over under we've seen.
A third string quarterback and a second string quarterback.
I mean, minus 108, minus 112.
Ritter.
I do like Mac Jones in this though. I really do. He has, he's almost one of those things where it's like we've seen backup shine, and I'm like, he's after getting kicked off the Patriots and booed out of town. It's like he's got an opportunity to try to make a case for someone else to pick him up, or at least get re-signed by the Jags. But and I mean, for the sake of the Jaguars, who, I mean, they were in the playoffs just 2 years ago.
2 years ago, and they went start off 8-0 last
yeah,
year.
It's like they had a good chance. Like they just have a hard time getting back up on the horse after Trevor Lawrence has come back after an injury. He can't play every game in London, so they're going to be in Vegas, and what happens there stays there. So we'll see. I mean, I got to go Jags. It just overall, you talk about a team that's made to the playoffs and looked good doing it.
Yeah, the Raiders are just bad.
Listen, hey, you want to overlook this matchup, but Jake, me and you both picked
and
Strange in our
I
tight
did see
end.
that, and I'm also starting Strange in a $350 fantasy
Yeah.
football.
I mean,
league.
hey, 11 receptions last
I
week
know,
from Mac
I
Jones.
know, and
You can't look away from
he
that,
was tight
especially
end
against the
number, he was
Raiders.
tight end number 2, and the
Especially against the
Ravens are
Raiders.
letting up the second most fantasy points to tight end. So it's like I'm really hoping that I'm benching Jake Ferguson for it because Jake Ferguson has just been just nothing since.
Yeah, no, if the targets are there and obviously the receptions were there last week too,
Yeah.
you got a chance.
Yeah.
So
Hey, look out for your if you guys are into fantasy, look out for Brandon Strange on your guys' waiver. I didn't even have to put anything in; he was just sitting there, so I just picked him up. Then the last split that we have on the day. So the last one we actually probably have to actually dive into detailed analytics. 49ers at the Dolphins. Obviously, Matt, me and you picked the 49ers. Fans, you picked the Dolphins. The Dolphins are in Miami, which means Dolphins will actually play football because it's warm weather. But I don't know. This is the one where I'm just like it sucks because I know this is not a bad matchup, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's just like it's one of those games where I'm just like I don't care. Like I don't care if they go 7-8 or if they go 6-9 because neither one of these teams are going to make playoffs in my opinion. So it's like I just don't care enough to like both of these teams have been disappointing.
yeah,
all
I'm
year.
especially
It's like, you know what I mean?
last week
Yeah,
though too.
that's what I mean. 49ers Thursday football was awful. And
Yeah.
then the Dolphins get beat by the Texans. It's like, okay. It's like
That's it. The Niners can't beat 12 points. The Dolphins scored 12 points. So I mean, it's just basically.
by the way,
that's why they're a
before we talk
1-point
about this, I said
favorite.
we'll dive into some deep analytics. That was the analytics we had for you guys. Is
This is
49ers
some
can't
flawless
score 12.
logic.
Dolphins
Okay,
score 12.
Get 12, can't get 12.
Yeah.
so
Get 12,
I mean,
can't
it's
get 12.
that's it. You're at home. The thing is I think Mike McDaniel's is
He's on the hot seat, man.
he is in the hottest seat
It's
league wide.
Yeah, it's
Which is crazy that he's in more trouble than let's talk about the Raiders or the Giants or there's a few other teams you could talk about. Jags. It's like why is Mike the best
how is Doug
seed
Peterson still there?
Yes, exactly. So if he has to win this at home or he will be booed out of town.
Yeah, if he goes 9-8, it's like injuries, a couple things went bad. Like
Yeah.
all right, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it is what it is. Like, but yeah, if they go 6-11 or 7-10,
Yep.
I don't know
Yeah,
how
you-
much longer his contract is or what's going on there, but the conversation's going to be had.
Yeah, your annex and you're just kind of like that demeanor he has can only take you so far when you start losing now, right? It's kind of
He's still making jokes. I'm like, dude, you just win a football game.
that's what I'm saying. It's kind of fun when you're winning and your offense is just explosive and
Yep.
you're running all over people, but then when you're shit in the bed,
Yep.
that's gonna look bad.
12 points with Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and Tua it's not, and Mostert, and it's like no. Achane, there's too many big names there to have 12
Jonnu
points.
Smith coming alive too. Yeah,
Too many big names there to have 12 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unacceptable.
And then we have the Bucks at the Cowboys. Sunday Night Football. Cowboys doing everything they can to literally just probably go 9-8. They're making sure that there's going to be no sun out for this game again
Yep.
at home.
Hey,
but I
that's
just
when-
hope we
that's
all
when Cooper Rush comes alive.
took Baker. Obviously we'll post our DraftKings lineups on TikTok as we did last week for you guys. But we all took Baker. So we the way we think this is Baker, Big Mike. We saw what Big Mike did last week. And he's chasing that. I don't know how many yards he's at to need that 1,000 yards receiving season, but I know that Baker is going to feed him. And I think we all think it just favors this matchup as well. All three of us took Baker and Big Mike. So
749 is where he's at right now.
what is that?
749.
So he needs 251 receiving yards in the last 3 games. So he's needing a little bit over 80 yards a game to get it.
That's a lot.
So look for him to be 100 plus this week.
Yeah, he's gonna feed him.
Yep. And then Monday Night Football, we have the Packers against the Saints. Minus 14.5. The Packers are in this game. I will say the Packers last week, Sunday Night Football, I think that's probably the most complete football that I've seen them play this season. I don't know how you feel about that, Fancy. I think the defense looked great. Josh Jacobs looked great. Jordan Love took care of the football. I mean, first drive, walk down, score. It's like, they look great on all sides of the ball. And I look back to about 2-3 weeks ago when they played the 49ers, and the 49ers were about that 500. They were like 5-5, I think it was.
Mhm.
And we talked about it. Like, yeah, they're 5-5. Whatever else, they still have that power. But I'm just like, this is the game in Green Bay that they'll get them rolling. And I think we kind of nailed it on the head there. I think that's the game that's kind of gotten them back into that groove of, okay, like we know how to play football. Like,
Oh yeah, this is the game where if Rodgers was still in Green Bay, he would have been queuing back to like week 2 saying relax.
Yeah.
Like this is the one. It's like we got it. We're pulling it together at the right time. Getting too hot too early can be an issue, And the Chiefs did it. We're worried about the Lions having done it. The Vikings have been not questionable as far as uh injuries, but it's like, are you really who you are? Because it's just one of those things. So that was a huge win. Obviously, taking over the stadium was that helps, and that just kind of demoralizes your team, which is good. That shows how we travel on the road, which is what we're gonna be looking at going into the playoffs. This will be hopefully just a nice little you know grand slam. Just polish the edges on a few things we need to work on. I think we can still. I don't know if Jair's back. I want him to sit another week. I don't think we'll need him. I'd rather him be as rested as much as possible to be ready for the Vikings and then the Bears, which once again he can rest again if he wants to.
yeah, I think it's gonna be crazy. I think this week we all obviously favored the top 3 teams in the NFC North. And if that does play out, we're looking at 2 teams that are gonna be 13-2 and 11-4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just obviously we don't have the playoff picture. We'll have another playoff picture for you guys after Christmas, because we probably want to have an episode next week for Christmas. But we'll go into the playoff picture where we'll have about a week left before playoffs, and it's gonna get hairy on who's gonna get snipped in the matchups, and obviously no home field advantage and everything else. So it's gonna get real interesting.
Jake, real quick, this is if we had post production and we threw in clips right here, this is where I would like to do a callback of at this part in the schedule, Fancy. If you remember going through your Green Bay lineup, this is where I said I don't know if Dennis Allen's going to be still coaching for the Saints when they match up against Green Bay. I was off by a few weeks.
Yeah, a little bit.
He got fired way earlier than I thought. But I mean, it kind of still is coming true. So I just want to point that out. This is where we were throwing that clip of me kind of getting it right here.
And I keep seeing the stats too of the top 3 running backs, and we literally made a TikTok on it. It's on our TikTok page of the biggest signings. And I said Barkley, Fancy said Josh Jacobs, and you said Derrick Henry, and it's literally Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, top 3 running backs this season.
Yeah,
so
I think Gibbs is number 4, right? As far as overall stats.
Actually, it's Kyron Williams.
Kyron Williams up in there, nice.
Kyron Williams, and then I think Gibbs fell down a little bit. I think he fell out of top 5. I think it was Kyron Williams, and then, gosh, I forget the other back. There's another back though. I think it might have been Bijan. Might have been Bijan, honestly.
Oh wow. Good for him.
But this week is the last week that we're gonna let Matt win. We obviously Fancy Christmas time. We wanted him to feel good going into this week. Spending a lot of money on his kid, and everything.
Listen, I appreciate guys.
5-5-2, and now it's 5-5-5. So now me and Fancy are gonna have a real lineup. If you guys want to see our real lineups, they will be posted to TikTok going into the week. I only had one big bang. It was Dottle. Obviously, Fancy, you had Gibbs and Jacobs. Awesome duo to have this week. Another running back that did great for us, for you, Matt, was Chase Brown. Terry McLaurin, Xavier Worthy, red hot, as you can see. Obviously, a huge point for you, Matt, was having Jonnu Smith, but also having the Broncos.
Yeah, that defense.
Broncos defense was awesome for you. Obviously, looking back at it, I was like, I don't know why I didn't pick Denver, against Anthony Richardson. He's going to throw 17 picks. But rough week again, back-to-back weeks now, if I recall correctly. Quarterbacks for us, we are just ice cold on picking quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But that is our picks for this week, or from last week. I'm sorry. So we're all tied up 5-5-5. So this week and the next 2 weeks after are going to be very, very important. It would really, really suck. I was thinking about this when it went 5-5-5. I'm like, it would really, really suck if it went 6-6-6. and then we just don't have anything else to do. Like we don't have an op. Like that's what we end up as, is a dead tie. Like that would
That'd be
suck.
crazy.
Unless we just go into playoffs. We want to call it right now. If we go dead tie, we just run the lineups into playoffs.
Yeah, well, this isn't the NFL. We don't tie.
There we go. This isn't the NFL. But another good news. Last week, our podcast parlay hit again. So we are 3 weeks straight of hitting the podcast parlay. So we are hot right now. So we're riding the hot hand. We're wheeling and dealing. Like I said earlier, we kind of teased it for you guys, but Fancy picked the Cardinals. Cardinals money line against the Panthers. Matt, you went with the Buccaneers, and then I went with the Vikings. Geno Smith's angle kind of questionable. When Sam Howell came in, he kind of looked like trash. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet both missing time, as you pointed out, Matt, which could play a heavily part in that Seattle Seahawks game. So all three of those picks for a plus 258, $25 to win you almost $90. So nice little payout there if you're gonna tail us. Last week we didn't have trivia. This week we do have a quick one for you guys. We're gonna try to keep it under an hour for you guys. But we will catch you over there with trivia with Matt.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, what a great theme song too, right?
I was still singing it.
Thanks for letting me throw in another trivia this week.
Yep.
I'm trying to do a simple one, but it's kind of on point with what Fancy already talked about. 12 points isn't going to get you a win, or shouldn't get you a win, right? So this was 5 teams going into last week.
Okay.
One of the teams ruined it for themselves and ended up trying to score more than 30. But can you name the 4 teams now then that have not scored more than 30 points in a game this season?
1 Browns.
Incorrect.
Fuck.
Jaguars.
That's right, 'cause of Winston, bro. I forgot Winston had a pop-off game.
Yep.
Shoot. Okay.
No Jags, no Browns. They've
Titans.
had at least one good week. Not the Titans.
Titans did too.
Correct. Come on. Think of some more
Patriots.
shitty teams. Yes, there we go. Pats
Raiders.
are not good at all. Also, the Raiders not good at all. There you go.
Giants.
Wait, one more time. So,
Giants.
did you say 1, 2, Jake?
No.
Okay. Yep. Giants. All right.
Who was
There you
the
go.
5th team that this week?
So the Jets decided to.
I was gonna say Jets, but I was like, they probably had 1 week where they blew up. This was that week, huh?
They have 32 points this week in their
Nice.
win. So we're looking for one more team. And to me, this is the outlier.
I thought you said it was 4 teams.
You've named the Pats, the Giants, and the Raiders.
No, you said Jags. I thought.
I did. That wasn't it.
Oh, I
Oh.
thought we started with
No.
that. That's my fault. I was like, wait a minute. So we have
No.
Pats, Giants, Raiders.
Raiders.
The
And then-
outlier.
I mean, you know it.
I'm gonna. Man, this is might be a crazy. No,
Go ahead, rip it.
no.
Do
Come
they
on.
have a?
Come on.
Do they have a winning record?
Yes.
Steelers.
Nope.
Fuck. That felt good though.
Broncos.
Nope.
No, the Broncos have. Yeah, I feel like the Broncos have done it.
A winning record and not more than 30.
Well above 500.
The line.
Well above 500. Damn.
Wow.
So I told you
Texans.
this one's the nope.
Is it the Vikings?
No.
No.
I was
I mean,
saying that
I thought for sure they did, but I was like,
Yeah, I was like,
maybe.
no way.
well above 500.
This is the tricky one, huh?
This
Rams.
is tricky. Oh, wait. Is it Kansas City?
There we go.
No way.
Kansas City has hit 30,
Oh, but not
but
over.
cannot score more than 30 in any of these games.
Wow.
Can you that's the one that this stat is based off of, because that one blows my mind that you can win that many games by not scoring more than 30 points.
I guess just goes to
Shout
show
out
you
to the
how well
defense.
their defense is. I mean, that
Yeah.
it really does, and how well coached they are too. Not to give any
Yes.
discredit to Andy Reid. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, how many teams? There might not even be a single team in the NFL that has been 13-1 and not scored 30 points in the game, like or 30 more. You know what I mean?
More than 30, yeah.
There's probably teams that blow because that's what we've seen from the Kansas City Chiefs. Not to ramble on before the podcast ends here, but
Right.
that's what we've seen from them though. Is like in the games, even when we're like, this should be the game Mahomes puts up 450 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's like they will sneak and win 20-13. It's like we're not seeing the explosive games out of Kansas City. We're just not.
This is like what you call like the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Man.
Well,
like,
and when you
did
speak
we
out these
win?
wins,
You know what I mean? It's like, did we win though? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like,
when you have the refs on your side, you don't need to score a bunch of points. I guess is what it comes down to.
It's true. That's
me
true.
and Matt are gonna be texting each other Saturday. These fuckers again, the goddamn Texans, you know. And it became literally Fancy's gonna type in there KC. Like that's all he's gonna type. It's like I don't know why you guys are not KC.
Yeah, I said it.
So, but no, fun week. We probably, like I said, throughout the pod, we probably will not get to one next week with Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you guys. Happy holidays. Stay safe. I guess the next pod will will it be next year? No, because a week, maybe. Yes,
Yeah.
it will be.
Wednesday is
It will be
first.
January. It'll be January 1st.
That'll be
Year's Day.
with Marcus if you can. That won't be me.
Okay, no Fancy. So you guys will see
Yeah.
Fancy in 2026.
Yeah.
No, 2025 is when the next episode will be recorded, man. That's kind of crazy. If if we can't find time, we're gonna say no episode next week. If there is one out, it's gonna be a shorter one. But
You'll be surprised.
Merry Christmas. Stay safe. Enjoy the holidays with your guys' families. We appreciate you guys, supporting us. Keep updated with our socials. We're gonna try to get this stuff out there for you guys. That way we don't, skip too much of the info that we give you guys. And let's hope me and Matt can go 16-0 because that would be pretty cool.
If this is the week, I really think that there's a chance. Stack them all up there. All right.
Stack them all up. You heard it here. All right, guys. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next year.
Bye.